Good morning. Thanksgiving, of course, is when many families and friends will gather to eat a big meal complete with turkey, stuffing, pumpkin pie, all the favorites. But with grocery stores already struggling to fill empty shelves, people can expect to pay record high prices for their holiday food this year. Meg Oliver shows us why you may want to hit the grocery stores early.
Thanksgiving is a few weeks away, but with so many supply chain issues, I'm here early to make sure I get all the fixins. Here's the good news. The USDA says there isn't actually a turkey shortage this year, but that doesn't mean you're not going to be paying more. The birds are going to cost you an extra 10 to 15%. If you're having a smaller Thanksgiving, buy your turkey early. The smaller ones are expected to go first as Americans keep their gatherings intimate. And by the way, if you're thinking of having chicken as an alternative, that could be a problem too. All poultry prices are rising because of factors like climate change, making the grain they eat harder to get, so more expensive, and that cost is getting passed on to us. No Thanksgiving would be complete without pumpkin, and that could be another issue. Most of our canned and pureed pumpkins come from Illinois, which was hit hard by a fungus this year. Aluminum shortages mean this and any other canned goods are in shorter supply. That's because aluminum suppliers can't get their hands on enough magnesium, which is produced in China and an important part of the aluminum making process. Farms are having a tough time all around because of wood shortages needed for shipping and labor shortages, especially migrant farm workers who weren't allowed in the country during the pandemic. If all of this is stressing you out and you need a drink, I hate to tell you this, but liquor may be harder to come by. A lot of booze comes from overseas and companies are having a tough time sourcing the bottles, and they take time to make. The overall message from the USDA is don't worry too much. If everyone gets only what they need, there should be enough to go around.
Meg Oliver, CBS News, Clifton, New Jersey.
Well, those shortages, of course, are everywhere, even here in our local grocery stores. That's why this holiday season, store owners are encouraging families to come and get what they need early, as you just heard in that piece. Some stores like Shop and Save in Vernon, Alabama, will be stocked for the coming weeks to ensure that they can provide enough products in the community. However, it may get tough to get the items as the holidays get closer.
We're getting some of our holiday stuff in. We're getting about a 48 to 50% fill rate on grocery, dairy, and frozen food, so it's thin. We got some of the main items, and we're beginning to get some of the other end, but it's going to be tight this year.
And families are encouraged to, again, expect higher prices, but don't let that ruin the holiday spirit. So more than 6 million adults in the United States have heart failure, a chronic condition where the heart isn't able to pump enough blood and oxygen to the body. But there may be hope for people who have sudden or gradual onset of heart failure symptoms. Mandy Gaither has more on a new treatment that doctors say was performed for the first time in the United States.
After months of struggling with shortness of breath, Robert Dye knew something was wrong.
I couldn't lay flat on my back because I couldn't breathe at night.
In October, he was admitted to the hospital and diagnosed with acute decompensated heart failure. Cardiologists at The Ohio State University Richard M. Ross Heart Hospital say the 65-year-old is the first patient in the U.S. to get a new type of treatment for it.
I can actually feel my heart beating in my chest, which I wasn't able to do before.
A catheter was placed through a vein in his neck and into Dye's heart, where electrodes were used to stimulate a nerve. Doctors say early studies show this can increase how strong the heart beats to pump more blood without significantly raising a patient's heart rate.
By increasing the amount that the heart is naturally doing, we can then start to repair his heart using medications and other treatments that we have available.
Dr. Sita Ramesh Amani and his team performed Dye's investigative procedure. While the treatment is still being studied, he says this could be a huge step forward in helping heart failure patients.
Traditional therapies aren't well designed to increase the amount of blood flow from the heart. The couple that we do have out there have a lot of side effects.
Days after the procedure, before leaving the hospital, Dye says he was able to walk a mile.
It gave me a second chance at life. If it hadn't been done, I wouldn't be here today.
A chance at more time with his great-grandchild. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The clinical trial is expected to continue for the next couple of years at the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center. After that, doctors hope to expand it to become more of a standard therapy. All right, just ahead, getting there in style, maybe. We'll show you this next on Mid Morning. All right, welcome back. There are plenty of taxi services to choose from these days, but a British man has cornered the market when it comes to heavy lifts. Ian Lee brings us the tank taxi, and this story is from London.
It may not be the smoothest ride, but this tank taxi sure looks cool. Merlin Batchelor thinks so, turning heads while he rumbles down the streets of Norwich, England.
They're pure entertainment. You know, as you drive along the street, there's so many people smiling, laughing, pointing.
But let's clear something up. This isn't actually a tank.
Technically it isn't. It's an armored personnel carrier.
But tank taxi just rolls off the tongue better, and they look similar.
So how'd you buy this?
I bought it online, as you do with everything these days.
The purchase and repair set Merlin back about $35,000. Then requests for rides started rolling in.
So first I had neighbours, then friends asking, then friends of friends, and then people I didn't even know asking me, can I take them to, mainly asking about proms.
And that led to Merlin's new side hustle. For about $1,000 a trip, he chauffeurs for weddings and even funerals.
It's pretty much the other woman, to be honest.
For Sam and Tristan, there was no question how they would arrive on their big day.
Wow, when your neighbour buys a tank and your other half spends most of his time with that tank, it's inevitable that you'll go to your wedding in the tank.
And when this baby pulls up to the chapel, folks are bound to talk about the other woman.
I would like a tank. It was so good. It was amazing. Brilliant.
And better, Merlin says, than his regular ride.
So my other car is just a plain old Honda Civic.
But at least the Civic gets better gas mileage. Ian Lee, CBS News, Norwich, England.
And right now, Merlin is only licensed to carry passengers for weddings and funerals. He hopes to get another permit to do more events like proms and even birthday parties. All right, just ahead, Natalie Wood's sister writes about their lives and her sister's death. That story is next. All right, welcome back. Natalie Woods was an actress from an early age, starring in The Miracle on 34th Street at age 8. She later starred in Splendor in the Grass, West Side Story, and Gypsy. In a new book out this week, Wood's younger sister, Lana, looks at her mysterious death 40 years ago this month. She died on a yacht trip off California's Catalina Island, and it was ruled an accidental drowning. But the investigation was reopened in 2011, and her then husband, actor Robert Wagner, was later named a person of interest. 48 Hours correspondent Aaron Moriarty spoke to Lana Wood.
Telling this story is the bravest thing I will ever do.
Lana Wood, now in her 70s, has spent the past 4 decades tormented by the death of her sister Natalie at the age of 43.
I've always been terrified, still am, of water, dark water, seawater.
To end up exactly where she never wanted to be, that really hurts. That should not have been the end, no matter what.
And who do you blame for that?
I blame Robert Wagner.
On Sunday morning, November 29, 1981, Natalie Wood was found drowned in the waters off Catalina Island, California. She'd been on board her family's yacht, the Splendor, with her husband, actor Robert Wagner, her friend and fellow actor Christopher Walken, and the boat's captain, Dennis DeVerne. The three men later told police that they discovered Wood missing from the boat late the night before and thought she had taken the dinghy to go ashore.
When I went down below, she wasn't there. The dinghy was gone. We had a dinghy that was tied up after the boat, and she wasn't there.
Why do you believe that the police, even the medical examiner, accepted the story so quickly that this was an accidental drowning?
It was Robert Wagner. It was the dream couple on their yacht.
But years later, the boat captain began telling a very different version of that night, describing an intense argument between Wagner and Wood on the back of the boat before she disappeared.
I believe that Robert Wagner was with her up until the moment she went into the water.
Lana also believes that, and she writes about it in her new book.
I've been living for 40 years now with the heaviness of picturing every second of my sister's life. Her terror, her anger, her struggle to stay alive, and the final, ultimate betrayal by the person she trusted with her most intimate moments.
Did Christopher Walken ever talk to you about what happened on the boat?
Nope.
Christopher Walken has publicly said he believes this was an accident. Lana and Natalie Wood were children of Russian immigrants. Natalie, who was 8 years older, was one of those rare child actors who blossomed into a movie star.
Hello there. Good to see you again.
It's nice to see you.
Earning 3 Academy Award nominations.
He doesn't like my friends. He doesn't like something about me. Mama, you do something like that! I'll do something desperate!
Off-screen, Natalie Wood had a series of high-profile romances and 3 marriages, twice to the same man, Robert Wagner. She first married Wagner in 1958, divorced him, and then remarried him in 1972. In never-published writings from the late 60s, Natalie Wood described difficulties in her first marriage to Wagner.
We maintained a superficially happy relationship and hoped that by pretending there was nothing wrong, the problems would go away. It was extremely difficult for us to really face serious flaws in the relationship when everything looked so ideal on the surface.
She clearly was concerned about the marriage the first time around,
Yes.
and then she remarried him in 1972.
Yeah.
Why?
Her only response was, sometimes the devil you know is better than the devil you don't.
Good morning. My name is Christopher Bergner.
After Natalie Wood's death investigation was reopened, detectives found new witnesses who also heard an argument on the back of the boat and the autopsy notes fresh bruises on Wood's body. While Robert Wagner was named a person of interest, L.A. County Detective Ralph Hernandez says there isn't enough evidence to file charges.
The ultimate problem is we don't know how she ended up in the water.
That hasn't stopped Lana Wood from writing a book that points the finger directly at her brother-in-law. In your book, you describe that he blacklisted you.
Yeah.
He cut you off financially and emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Is this book just a way to get back at him?
No. No, it's not just a way to get back at him. It's standing up for Natalie.
Wagner, now 91, has always maintained his wife's death was an accident. In 2008, he told CBS Sunday Morning he still felt responsible.
This accident that occurred, I wasn't there. I wasn't there for her.
Do you think that this case will ever get really resolved?
Please, God, surprise me.
Sounds like you don't, though.
I don't think so. Hers is a story that should have ended in joy. The truth is, it actually had no ending at all. Like so many other enduring mysteries, it will be talked about, speculated about, written about, and replayed dozens of times to come. After all, It's Hollywood.
Now, investigators say they don't believe Robert Wagner has ever told the full story about what happened that night, and he's refused to speak with them since the case reopened. All right, up next, setting the stage with costumes. Who better than Shakespeare? Mid-morning, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. For decades, Britain's legendary Royal Shakespeare Company has perfected the art of dressing up. It has a collection of around 60,000 weird and wonderful wardrobe items, including some of the most famous outfits in British theater history, from plays like Taming of the Shrew and Hamlet. And soon, visitors will get to see the making of the costumes up close. Roxana Sabiri gives us a look behind the scenes.
In the birthplace of the Bard, the Royal Shakespeare Company performs his classics.
I'll stand on Sunday first.
And contemporary creations.
I'm Adele the Brave. Got it?
Within these walls, all the world's a stage. And these are the men and women who stitch it together.
This is a scruffer. So it was designed for roughing up the bottom of ballet shoes.
Oh. So
Yeah.
you're trying hard to make something new look old.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's quite
and
an
to
assignment.
give it a history.
As the largest in-house workshop of its kind in British theatre, it's dressed a list of legendary actors. From Richard Burton as Henry V to Laurence Olivier and Vivien Leigh. Head of collections Robin Greenwood curates the company's most iconic garments.
We've got Ian McKellen, Judi Dench. We don't just make theatre, we make costumes, we make a craft.
And starting next year, these unsung players will get their chance to be front and center when their recently renovated workshop opens to the public for the first time.
So this is our women's costume studio.
Alistair MacArthur and his team gave us a preview. The sketches, markups, and pieces from the bottom to the top for their latest production.
So these are part of it's the costume prop world, part of Magician's Elephant.
Are these real feathers?
Yes, it's very rare you can find stuff like this on Amazon that's going to last 100 performances.
And that's why you have to make
And
it.
that's why we have to make it.
Almost entirely by hand, like in Shakespeare's day. Alan Smith has hammered out helmets, shields, and swords for 3 decades.
Part of the reason why we do a lot of it in-house is obviously it saves money, but also so we have a lot more creative control.
Leather breastplates take an average of 70 hours to craft.
At my signal, unleash hell.
Some items have segued from stage to screen, appearing in Gladiator, Braveheart, and Shakespeare in Love. Pretty much all the pieces end up at the company's sprawling rental shop. Manager Pip Asteri says each one is marked with a label showing which actor wore it last.
This is Judi Dench's dress from All's Well.
You trust it in somebody's hands?
Yeah, because people know the history of it and they know whose it is. They always kind of look after it.
With 60,000 items, you can find almost anything you're looking for.
Somebody wanted a life-size pigeon costume, which we don't have. If anyone wants to dress up as a pigeon, no, we don't have a pigeon. We've got a chicken costume in there.
There are also crow's heads and more, each rental for around $125. Here, you can also spot some behind-the-scenes secrets.
And then you have this, which has got the magnets, so then that
So
will
they're-
stay, and then...
They're easy to take on and off.
A costume's ultimate test comes after months in the making.
Every single detail has been thought about and helps you just embody that character.
When the actor it was meant to serve, like Summer Stralin in The Magician's Elephant, puts it on.
All good, thanks, darling. Okay.
For the team behind the seams, all's well.
This place is going to the dogs.
That fits well. Roxana Saberi, Stratford-upon-Avon, England.
California brothers Jabril and Umi both love Star Wars, and that love of Star Wars helped them discover fencing. The two are now hoping to go to the Olympics someday. They've written a book about their goal in hopes that it will inspire other children to pursue their dreams. Take a look.
Two teenage brothers.
My brother, I love my brother.
Just 18 months apart in age.
I feel like life with my brother by my side is a lot easier.
Putting on the armor to fence.
I got you. Yeah, you got me.
They say it's a freedom to explore.
I like Star Wars. I like the sword fighting, and I like everything about a Jedi.
16-year-old Jabril Green found his passion when he was only 9, asking his mom, "Can I be a Jedi?"
She let me try it, she exposed me to it, and here I am now.
Both Jabril and his older brother Umi are nationally ranked fencers, competing in many tournaments throughout the country, aiming for the Olympics one day. For this story, though, we got the Green brothers going at it at Snow Park in Oakland.
I love fencing. Like, there's so many things that you can master in fencing.
The brothers are mastering the sport.
Epee is the heaviest weapon and it has the biggest bell guard.
Now, even as teenagers, some would say they've mastered life. They're filmmakers, instrumentalists, and published authors of a children's book, Can I Be?
And what made me write it was the lack of, I guess, inspiration that kids had as far as like people letting them know that they can be anything. Yeah, there's people telling them that they can be something, but how are they going to become that?
Not only can you find their book online, but it's on the shelves at 39th and Martin Luther King Jr. Way, too. Marcus Books in Oakland is the oldest black-owned bookstore in the country, and these two brothers are some of the youngest authors on the shelves.
Putting the book on paper was really hard for me because I feel like it's hard to write about yourself.
But what the brothers didn't know was that writing about yourself could pave someone else's path to life's endless possibilities.
This book is an inspirational story about a kid with big dreams.
There are several empty pages in their book. The Green brothers say it's to inspire kids to draw, write, or create what they want in life. And while these brothers have achieved more than some of us adults, their story isn't over. They have blank pages of their own, still waiting to be filled.
All right, very cool. All right, we'll be right back to wrap things up. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, email, those are all the ways you can get in contact. We love to hear from you. We'll see you back here next time.